everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of Vancouver Island Time, and He Said, She Said, They Said with...
Hi, it's Andrew with the Jane Johnston. How's everybody doing today?
I'm well. I scratched my forehead.
Yeah, I saw that.
So anyway.
Hiding it's a good idea. Really effective.
I'm going to glue it to my forehead.
Perfect. At least you have hair to use.
So what's going on in your real estate world?
Still busy. Got some nice out-of-town buyers keeping me active. Was really happy to give some keys recently to a few great folks, and more coming up on that. Yeah, so life is good in the world of real estate. It's still quite busy out there. You were saying that you had maybe a slower weekend. Of course, it's the long weekend.
I tried to have a slower weekend.
Right.
I had a couple of hours. Somebody asked me the other day, do you take time off? And I said, as a realtor, I don't take time off. I take, I don't take days off. I tend to take hours off.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we just tend to work when there's work. And then when there's not work, we coast for a bit and try to do what we can with our time at that point. That's what I do. I mean, fill in the blanks.
I did laundry.
Good for you. Yeah. Yesterday I did the same, 3 loads. Yeah.
So today is the first Monday of the month. So
it's Stats Day.
It's Stats Day. Fireworks.
So exciting. So exciting.
I thought we could go over what the stats are. So I'm going to add them to the stream here. I'm going to press play. And when I do this, just so you know, I cannot see you. Which display are we on right now?
We are on the He Said, She Said title page. So you want to go on one more at least.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. So Monday, I'll read them. 260 new listings over the past week, 246 pending, which means they've just sold, but they haven't completed yet. Price decrease is 34. And I have seen a few of those lately, in real time.
Yeah.
Price increase is 9. Those are sellers who I think are a bit, they're thinking, oh my God, we listed too low. We're getting too many showings.
Yeah. And I've also seen where they go to offer day and they've listed maybe low, and then they don't get, they get offers, but they accept a conditional offer. The conditional offer falls apart and they have to go back to market. And so they've already gone through that delayed offer scenario, but they didn't actually end up with a unconditional sale because maybe the buyer couldn't get financing or they didn't like building inspection. So anyway, the sellers had originally priced low, they priced it higher to just put it back to the marketplace.
Okay. And then sold are 346. So these are essentially sales that probably happened since January 1st. And so that's because we're at the end of the month. A lot of people plan for closings, just easier to do at the end of the month. So I always say to people, don't try and book lunch with me on the Friday before for a long weekend. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, our monthly sales summary. So 65 units in Victoria itself.
Yeah, for the month of March, 65 units sold for the city of Victoria, including Vic West. Average price over $1 million at 1.335. Enlarge my screen so I can actually read this. Yeah, that says 1.335. That's quite an average for our little city. And then Oak Bay has been bucking, Oak Bay is about 500,000 more on average if you want to buy in Oak Bay. So,
well, these are including waterfront properties, which some don't. Some of the stats don't, but I just thought, let's just look at the whole area. So it's a big picture view.
Right. Still, though, if you look at the median prices, 1.150 for City of Victoria and 1.654 for Oak Bay, that's not what I'm seeing in Oak Bay is, I wouldn't say exactly average homes, but older, beautiful, your typical Oak Bay home on a nice street in Oak Bay. That's around the price point I'm seeing.
And we've been talking also about Esquimalt being a great area. So you can see here the median price has gone up. It's still cheaper to live in Esquimalt. It's at $991 compared to $869 a 6-month average. So it's going up. And then View Royal is also up. So I had a listing in View Royal recently. We listed at $849 and ended up selling $975.
I think View Royal is an underappreciated area, and it's ripe for a rise. It's in between, geographically, it's in between the city of Victoria and the West Shore, where Langford Colwood is, and those are booming areas as well. So as all these areas increase, I think View Royal, which has some beautiful waterfront and some mix of areas, should do really well.
So Saanich East is our biggest area geographically and busiest area. So and its median price is close to where Victoria Vic West is at $1,190,000.
What do you mean by busiest area?
There are 119 units sold there compared to
Saanich East. Sorry, I was thinking you said Central Saanich. Pardon me. Okay.
That's okay. You asked that very politely. Appreciate it. Saanich West is more rural, and so acreages. Median price there is $925. I always find it interesting to look at average versus median. So the average will tell us if there are many high or lower end properties. The median is the middle property. Central Saanich. Do you do a lot of business there?
I've been doing more business there. I've got a listing coming up out that way. I like Central Saanich. I think it's in terms of options versus the West Shore, it's a little bit more rural still. It's got more ALR around it, so some larger properties. I think it's underappreciated. It doesn't have the center in terms of infrastructure that the West Shore does, but in terms of distance from Victoria and proximity to amenities of Victoria, it's a great option.
Yeah, I just was working with some buyers who had originally come in. They wanted to live in the specific area of Saanich East, and they had their eyes set on Broadmead. And then we ended up finding them a place in Brentwood Bay, and they love it. And it's I think it's a really great area. I do think it will upgrade over time. I'm not going to say gentrify because I got called to the carpet for saying that, but I do think like the downtown Brentwood area could be improved upon. But I love it. I love that small town feeling there.
Yeah, I think areas improve based on the people that move into it and the communities that grow from them, and so as we find that people move to certain areas partly because of price point, but also because of they like the area. If more money goes into that area, more infrastructure and different shops and restaurants and so forth. So kind of create your own thing.
And Metchosin and Highlands are both low rural areas. Right now, I think there's only 4 active listings in Metchosin, and we've had 7 sales over the past month, and 4 in the Highlands.
Interesting, the difference in price between Highlands and Metchosin. I guess that's because Metchosin has more waterfront. Well, has waterfront. The Highlands has waterfront lakes, I guess, but a waterfront ocean in Metchosin and some larger properties there. But they're similar in terms of, I guess, climate. Would you say?
Well, I live out in Metchosin. I would say it has more arable land and it's more open than the Highlands. Highlands is more. It got more trees, and there are lakes, so waterfront is different up there.
Yeah. It's called the Highlands for a reason. It's a little bit higher up, but it's in between a lot of centers, and yet to get in and out of the Highlands and Metchosin means a lot of windy roads and so on.
Yeah, and one of 2 roads in both cases, right?
Yeah.
So Souk has been doing really well. They're at 38 units last month at an average of $770. So if you're looking to save some money, Souk is the way to go. I used to teach out in Souk at Edward Milne. It has definitely changed in the 16 years since I was there. Yeah. And but I mean, I've been showing a lot of properties. I just helped a client buy a property out there. and we got an awesome deal. And actually, the price we ended up with $775. So
Nice.
right on the money.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So the chosen, the median price is $770. The average is $874, $772. At $770, that's, you know, less than half the price of a house in Oak Bay. Different types of houses, of course, in Souk as well.
Just so you know, you said Machosa, but you meant Souk.
Okay. Thanks. Can we start?
Okay, in Souk, true. So if you would pay literally half the price to go to Souk, and you would have a completely different lifestyle. It's very wild, and you have easy access to trails and stuff in Souk compared to Oak Bay. It's a different lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So condos, same thing. Median is on the right. Average is the second from the right there. So we're talking, relatively speaking, Victoria is interesting with a median price of $483. I think it's because they're more smaller condos compared to Vic West. I don't know.
I'll just point out too, you know, when we were going through the list of houses, and Saanich East had the most listings and sales because Saanich East is a larger geographical area. But you can see here that the city of Victoria, which obviously is a more dense area, has way more condos than the larger Saanich East area. So the numbers are inverted. So it's just kind of interesting to note. Langford has a lot of condo activity as well. So if you're looking for a condo living, kind of looking into the sort of downtown core, maybe not so much Saanich East or West, although, you know, there's quite a few around the university, and then Langford. And it's interesting that like Colwood versus Langford really doesn't have that same infrastructure. Maybe that's because of septic versus sewer, would you say, or?
Just it hasn't really developed. It's starting to. So there's going to be the Colwood Corners where there's condo projects going up, and then along Goldstream there's been some planned. Also
beautiful. Yeah, and there's some beautiful ones coming and existing down by Woody's Esquimalt Lagoon, that is.
Yeah, Two Waters development. Yeah. Actually, I was just going to go back to what you were saying about the numbers. So interestingly, 52 sales in Langford compared to 145 in Victoria for units sold. Average, though, is about the same, but so around 475 in Langford and 483 in Victoria. However, the average square footage is going to be higher in Langford. So you're going to get a 2-bedroom for 475, whereas you're going to get a studio or kind of like a bachelor in Victoria.
At really good point, Jane. Yeah, that's a really good point. When you're looking at these, in all things being equal, the Victoria units tend to be smaller for the price.
Yeah.
It's also interesting seeing that Vic West, you know, and Oak Bay, the difference in that median price, much, much higher over there in the Songhees or over in Oak Bay, where people are paying more. And generally they are larger units as well.
So when I'm just thinking of the Bayview development, that's Vic West, and that area is what's garnering the higher prices because they have views. And it is a different lifestyle than Oak Bay. The Oak Bay condos tend to be low rises, 4 stories max. The Vic West ones tend to be, 12 stories plus, modern, very urban, shishi. It's
yes.
I think that's going to be the area to live in the future.
Yeah, it's the what's the equivalent in Vancouver? It's kind of like the Ale Town.
Granville Island.
Granville Island, yeah.
Yeah, or Harbourfront in Toronto. Same thing.
I think we should make a map of Victoria and make equivalent. Jane, this is a good project. Let's talk about this on the side. But
who's going to do the work?
You and I. We'll both do it. We'll put it out. We'll put it out to tender. Anybody want to help with this
project?
Okay, where are we at?
Okay, so just looking single family condos and row townhouses compared to last month and last year. So single family homes, 552. This is like the big picture units sold. That's up 48% over last month and 102% over last year during the pandemic.
Yep. Which is still ongoing, Jane.
Which is still ongoing, but we've changed everything. Average price of 1.181 million, up 1.8% over last month, up almost 20% over last year.
Yep. Yep.
And we were looking, so average home price, Greater Victoria is 1.160. So we have passed that, but the median is still at 978 with 373 units last month. And then last year was 272. So we've definitely gone up. Okay. Condo.
Who would have thought when the pandemic was, beginning to take impact and CMHC was predicting prices to go down by 18%, that we'd be actually up 20% the next year?
What was the first thing you did when the pandemic hit?
Oh, bought toilet paper, of course.
We have a bag of toilet paper in our bathroom.
Still,
not toilet paper, of toilet rolls. I've been putting them all in there over the year. I should take a picture of it. It's funny for fire starters. Okay. 574. Sorry, condos, 377, up 300% from last month and up 111% from last year.
Yeah.
Crazy. And so our prediction that the condo market would rebound has happened.
Absolutely. Yeah. And townhouses are also, hitting that mark as well. They're going to be, they're a great option and alternative to those houses that people are finding unaffordable.
Yeah. And then row townhouses, 140, up 37.3%, up 79.5% compared to last year. Average price is 684, and that is up 15% over last year. And basically even from last month.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Go back one there, Jane. Sorry.
Yeah.
Manufactured homes. I just want to talk about that for a little bit. It's interesting that, so when we're looking at the March 2021, 192% over last year. What is that? 192%. That's
average price.
Average price? It's not gone up 200%. Where's our average price? Oh, average price 299, or median 299 versus.
Oh, sorry.
I've been feeling like manufactured homes are, in this, when there's a dearth of available housing, that they're also ripe for an increase in value. They're a very different form of ownership and not a great one and very difficult to finance. But
you often get elderly people with cash buying those.
They've sold out of other properties. They want to have some cash for retirement. They can't afford a home in Victoria, but they have family here. So maybe they're going to buy a manufactured home.
And the reason why they're hard to finance is not because they're a manufactured home. It's because they are on leased land usually. And so the bank doesn't finance if you don't own the land.
Yeah. Not a great investment for the bank in terms of getting their money back.
Yeah. So I did have a client looking at these, and we ended up writing on a couple of units. We found a great location, terrible unit. Then we found a great unit, terrible location, because the band literally never got back to us regarding the lease agreement. So we're like, well, we can't go forward.
Right. Too bad. And
then that client ended up buying in a mobile home park in Central Saanich, which there are a lot, and there's I think a 39-year lease left.
Okay. So, yeah. If anyone is interested in manufactured homes, it's a very unique animal, and there's, the question of whether there's an annual lease like a manufactured home, or is it on leased land where you've got a longer lease like 29 years or 99 years. There are some townhouses where that's a situation, or there's also manufactured homes that actually are cooperatively owned by a corporation and you're buying a share in that corporation, you have a better form of ownership. Or there's also ones like Summergate Village where you actually are buying bare land. There's a mobile home on it, and there's amenities, and that would be, I mean, that one would be financeable, and it's one of the better forms of ownership. It's a great option. So if anyone's ever thinking of mobile homes, talk to Jane. So I don't do mobile homes. Do you do mobile homes, Jane?
No, not usually. I did it as a favor, and then it's just not my forte. I would say I actually ended up passing it to a specialist.
Yeah. So we're both happy to talk to anyone about mobile homes. We would probably then help connect you up with someone who is a specialist in mobile homes, because they are very specialized.
So I just want to go to the bottom line here. The total number of listings is 1,310. And we have 1,400 realtors in Victoria.
Yeah.
So that's scary. It just means realtors are an interesting animal, because we're very competitive when it comes to getting a listing, but we're very collegial about facilitating the sale, especially in Victoria. I have great regard for our fellow realtors.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of professionalism overall, and I've always enjoyed working with most of our colleagues. And it's interesting, though, I have been hearing there's a lot of people who, partly due to the pandemic, maybe thinking about changes in career, are getting licensed. There's an influx of agents. I think we're going to see some new agents coming in, and that number will probably be going up.
So I just want to look at this and look at, I know most people can't see the numbers, but if you look down here, this is $700,000. So when Andrew and I got into real estate, the average price was $399. Do you remember that?
Yep. Oh yeah.
And then this is close to downtown, and this is as we're going out of town. So you can see there's a trend of prices being lower. We saw that earlier in areas outside of the core. And that's because it's just less convenient. But we are finding, like, for instance, here in Souk, 20 homes year to date sold in Souk. And that's significant. That's up there, I think, way over what it used to be. And then you can see where the spread is of all the activity. So in the Saanich East area, you're seeing quite a large spread between 1.349 million and down to 800,000. And in if you look at Colwood, you know, we're seeing the spread from 949 to 700,000. So it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're searching in an area with a realtor, you're going to say, okay, well, you want to look at this graph because you want to see where the activity is happening. So if you're looking at a property that's a really beautiful property, and it's in Saanich East and it's $650,000, like, to me, that's a no-brainer. Yep, I'm going to buy that because it's likely to go up in value. Okay, condos. You want to talk about this one?
Sure. So I guess I can't move the cursor.
Okay, I can move it.
Okay, you can look at that, moving the cursor. Okay, so Vic West, you can see there when you go up to the 10 there, year to date to the 10 to the right. Nope, down and down. There you go. You can see in Vic West, kind of for condos, it kind of reaches, and we saw the average price point in Vic West. We talked about that. It was in the 700 range, kind of reaches that 7,899 range, jumps again to 850, and then sort of, you can really kind of see where prices sort of congregate, you might say, and definitely down. Yes, definitely down in this price point. The condos are really, really active. So, you know, what's interesting, actually, again, that Oak Bay, not so many condos. When you go to these other columns, it's really Victoria is the center for any kind of condo activity. You've got Saanich East, of course, and again, when you look at that list, the price points around 500,000. Got some activity, and then down below, the real activity is in the 499. You know, 400 to 499 range. So,
yeah. And same thing in Langford, what you were saying earlier. We're just seeing where the numbers are exactly.
And what I kind of find, Jane, and I don't, maybe you can agree or disagree, but I find prices kind of, they go up and up and up, and they kind of reach points where they kind of hit and they sort of stick for a little while. They reach a point where people don't want to go beyond, whether that's like for a 2-bed, 2-bath condo, maybe that's 500,000. And so it creates this lag, and there's a little bit of, once the pressure gets high enough, then it sort of jumps to maybe the next threshold of 550 or 600. But you'll find these price thresholds like around $1 million for single family homes. For condos, maybe it's around 500 or 750,000, and people kind of stick there for a little bit. They're kind of like, this is the new normal, and then it'll just jump beyond that. What do you think, Jane?
I totally agree. And when I do a market analysis with somebody, I look at, I actually sort by price, and we can see where the activity and the listings are. So we can see list to sale. So for instance, if I were looking at this with a client right now, and let's say we're looking at Vic West, and they're looking at a 2-bedroom condo, we look at all 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos, and then we can see on the left there, here, let's say there's a lot less activity over the 575 range. So when we're looking at pricing the condo, we're going to be very strategic in finding the gap, which is what you're talking about. Where's the gap where there's no activity happening, and we want to price it kind of at the low end there. That's my strategy.
Yeah. You want to see where the buyers are actually, where are they topping out? What's their limit?
Okay. Single family homes. So we peaked in January, which is very unusual. I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
No, but we had a drop in December, which is normal, which is pretty typical. But you can see too that if you kind of average out that line, they kind of balance each other out, you might say.
Yeah, if we look at the trend in the line, it's just it's basically from July of 2019. It's gone up from $850,000 to now over $1,150,000. And we were talking about that before, how it was hovering here in the middle here. Remember, around $1 million. And we're like, when it's gonna go, and it did.
Yeah,
so.
And it's like that. What I was just saying, there's that pressure on the market. It sort of reaches that point where it won't go beyond, but once it does, then there's a new reality, and people now get used to that new reality. They're willing to pay more.
It's kind of like gas prices.
Yeah, fair enough.
Same thing with condos. So very steady over the past 2 years. So this is 2 years, and we're looking probably around between 475 and 500. And then it's popped up over to 550. So up 10%. Yeah.
And it's, you can see where the average has been, and you can see, and it's been pretty consistent. And we are now starting to create a new normal for condos, whereas it was harder to get up above that before.
So I was reading economics, BC economics, and they were predicting that there'll be a lull in about 2 years.
A lull in condo activity? A lull in what?
Real estate in general.
Okay. So they say on average people buy every 5 to 7 years, or what's the number you've heard of? Heard varying numbers.
I've heard 2.5 years, so I don't know.
On average, 2.5 years?
Yeah, and I do know some people who do.
I know some people who do, but I wouldn't say they're on the average. But sure, I mean, whatever that number is, and now I've forgotten my point.
Well, that there's a natural fluctuation.
There's a natural fluctuation, but we've seen a lot of activity lately. And so again, that we're skewing that average to now, and then there's going to be those people who are all buying right now, maybe waiting 5 to 7 years. And so they're going to see that lag time, that lull in 2 years that the economists are maybe predicting, because people may be deciding, I just recently moved, I have no further need to move. So people have been maybe making decisions about moving sooner, or it's all condensed right around now.
I think it's because of low interest rates, personally.
No, that's going to have an impact, absolutely.
So speaking of stratas, Townhomes made the jump in September.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's interesting. There was actually a bump in December where there's usually a dip, and then a dip in January, and then we've come back again for February, March. But these are average prices though, so you've got to keep in mind that these are not the medians, which would be actually quite interesting to see how the median.
When I was looking at the BC economic stats, they were talking about migration, and amazing how many people are moving, the net migration to BC compared to other provinces. So I think this is part of the reason why our housing market's doing well. Okay, yeah. Total active listings. Holy schmoly.
Crazy graph, yeah. For those who like graphs and get excited. So a normal year has this big curve to it where it ramps up for the spring and then it sort of reaches the peak in just early summer and then plateaus and then starts to go down. You might have a bit of a bump in the fall and then it goes down into the winter and then it starts again. But look at this year. It's flatlined.
I love these graphs because I really feel we need to be looking back 2 years. So this gives us the visual, the last few graphs of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah. And I have buyers right now, thank goodness for delayed offers because we can go out and take our time and actually see a place. But when we got into the market, I remember thinking how fast everybody had to act. And then it slowed down. So, okay, total new listings over sales. So we're seeing there are actually a lot of listings coming on right now, but they are selling at a very high rate. So you can see the gap here of list to sale is small. So, and then if you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Jane, but I was going to say a good example is the December there, where you can see that there were less listings and a lot more sales. The sales activity continued on through December, where normally it would slow down. But so that would be an example where the inventory was taken up much more than there were more sales than there was inventory coming into the market. Whereas the following months, it's been lagging behind a little bit. There's more inventory than sales, but the trends are following the same where they're both rising. Inventory and sales are both going up in terms of numbers.
Yep. So even just looking at this straight line here, we're up over where we were last year and in a normal market.
Yeah.
So often people say, well, I want to sell in the spring. And I always go, well, if you want to sell in the spring, your chances of selling list to sale is 50%. Last year, it was about 60%, and now it's about 90%. So I love my little graph I made up here.
Well done, Jane. Well done.
So balanced market is where the blue line is. It's actually supposed to be about 20%, but I think in our market, it's probably around 30%. So this is the list to sale ratio. And you can see April last year, we were in a buyer's market, and then we've moved strongly into a seller's market again.
Extreme seller's market.
120%. So what that means is there's more sales than there is inventory.
Right. So sales are happening faster than inventory is coming on.
Yep. Okay, so year over year changes in each region. Gulf Islands are up 5.8%, and I know other people who are looking at living on islands. North Saanich up 16.5% to 1,102,000. Sydney, these are the benchmark prices. Do you want to explain what benchmark is, by the way?
So the benchmark is based on, if you ever heard the consumer price index numbers that the government produces, they take a basket of goods and they say this is what an average basket of goods costs. We do the same in real estate with house prices. We say this is what an average house in this area looks like. We kind of create this artificial house and say, and we were just talking about this, how, for example, condos, an average condo in the West Shore might be different than a condo downtown Victoria. And so we sort of create this artificial benchmark home, and then we track what that value would do over time based on different taking into account different adjustments that happen. But so what we're doing here is we have these artificial homes, just like that basket of goods, and saying, what would this have done over time?
Yeah. So for a single family home, it would be like 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, double car garage. Or single car garage.
And we can look up, if you're ever curious about those benchmarks, which every once in a while I get curious, but you can look it up and it'll, we have that information, but it gets really, I mean, if you think this is dry, it gets really dry.
It just shows, what it's showing is an increase in, the benchmark price is up 5.8% in the Gulf Islands, but in North Saanich it's up 16.5, Sydney up 16.2, and Central Saanich up 20.2.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone likes Central Saanich, Andrew.
It's being discovered.
And then Saanich East is up 10.4, Saanich West up 10.7, View Royal up 7.1, Esquimalt up 9.4. Vic West up 10.5, Victoria up 10.6, and Oak Bay up 9.8.
Interesting. It's only up 9.8 in Oak Bay, and yet the prices are so high. But, if they're going up on average and they were already higher, it makes sense. They're just proportionally always going to remain the same. Interesting that Oak Bay is, again, so much a different price than some other areas.
Yeah. Okay, in the West Shore, up 14% in Souk, up 20% in the Highlands. It's popped over $1 million. Colwood is up 16.3%. Langford's up 10.2%. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's interesting, because the benchmark price is higher in Colwood at $815 compared to $740 in Langford, but Langford has more smaller homes.
Right. All along the Happy Valley corridor, the West Hills, Kettle Creek, absolutely, yeah.
And then the in Metchosin, we're up over $1 million. So the sweet spot in Metchosin for a long time was around $950.
Yep. There's some beautiful properties and acreages in Metchosin, and I think it's ripe for a good future price increases. Okay,
so what's your prediction
for the future?
Yeah.
In general? Well, I do feel like we're going to see a lot of inventory coming on soon. I know I've got a number of listings coming up in the next few weeks to the next month. We're seeing a lot of realtors coming into the marketplace as new realtors. They're going to probably try to create. They will be out there pounding the pavement, trying to create new business. We're going to see an increase in activity. I think that will increase. I do feel like realtors sometimes have a pet theory that realtors sometimes affect the market themselves based on how exhausted they are or how keen they are. And so with a bunch of new agents coming in, I think we're going to see some changes. Where are you going, Jane? Okay, fine.
I'm tired.
Okay. Well, what do you think is going to happen, Jane?
I totally agree with what you're saying, actually. Okay. And I can't foresee the market slowing down with low inventory right now. It's just so busy.
Right.
That being said, what'll happen is once people start listing higher, exactly what you were saying, and they reach that cusp, which is the next level, that's when people will be going, you know what? I don't have the nerve for this. So agents will have to be really sensitive on pricing, I think.
Yeah, we've seen this in past markets where buyers tap out. They just say, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to wait and see if the market, and they're not always seeing what we're seeing, or they are seeing what we're seeing, but hope springs eternal. And I've not seen really a market crash in Victoria, but there's a lot of people who will say, you know what, prices are nuts. I feel like interest rates are going to go up and people won't be able to afford the homes. They'll have to leave the homes, and we're going to see this big housing market crash. And so I'm going to tap out and I'm going to wait a few years, and then I'll come back when I've saved up some more money and prices are better. And I don't find prices tend to get better. I find that, if you can afford to buy, the best time to buy is when you can afford to buy. The people I've seen do well are the people who have bought and held. over the years. But that being said, the reality is that's not what most buyers do when we start to see the market change. Is they say, I'm tired of this. I'm going to opt out and I'm going to wait. And the market does slow down, but it doesn't. It tends to plateau at that point.
In the past while, I think it maybe has gone down 10%, but then it just rebounds up higher,
Yeah.
like we saw, over the past 2 years. So,
Yeah.
And I literally am working with people who are being priced out of the market as we are buying.
Yeah.
And so I always say, like, if you're going to do a preemptive or a bully offer, if the list price is here and you want to do a preemptive offer, the seller is saying delayed offers because they want a higher price. So to come in lower,
or even at asking,
you're not going to get the bully offer. To come in a little higher, it's going to happen. And so, I mean, it's hard for everybody right now. It's hard.
This is where experience does make a big difference. I found that when a newer agent is managing a multiple offer situation, they're not always sure how to do it. They don't always know how to handle an offer that comes in advance, and they may just not, unfortunately, give their clients the best advice around maybe they should wait. And so I've seen, and this just where people working with experienced agents both have the protection and they also have the advantage of, the knowledge and understanding, whereas a newer agent may not know how to handle these situations and therefore may guide their clients in ways that are not in their best interest, but does help the more experienced agent help their clients with that buy. So
I had a multiple offer situation last week, and so agents were calling me up and they're like, "Hey, are you the type of agents who handles multiple offers this way or that way?"
Oh.
So, and like sometimes, 6 offers come in and the agent just goes, "Let's just pick the best offer." And then they go with that. And so everyone else is like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll go back to the top. Like if there's 2 offers that are significantly the same, you can go back and ask them to improve their offer. The problem is you might lose the buyer.
Yeah. So I tend to present the offers in the order they were received. So I'm not providing any kind of favoritism. I don't want to, generally speaking, we will discuss, and I will certainly, if asked, and I'll certainly have an idea of which one, and I'll explain maybe why some offers are, more compelling than others for certain reasons that the sellers should be aware of. But the sellers make that decision, and I don't want to be like, here's your best offer, and then here's the rest of them, And I think some agents may do that. They might just say, look at this great offer, but really, in fairness to our colleagues, even, in the order they come in, if you present them, then you're not creating that, any kind of conflicts.
We do that too. We forward them in the order in which they come in, but then I also create a spreadsheet which just shows them all in one.
Yeah, and I do the same, and it's really helpful because by the time you've gone through everything and talked about deposits and closing dates and conditions and included items and so forth, really confusing if there's, more than a few offers. Because people get confused about which one was the one with the $100,000 deposit, which was the one that was $20,000 above asking. So yes, we do this. I do the spreadsheet as well. Yeah.
Hey, do you have any hot new listings you want to say?
I've got a new listing coming up top of Bear Mountain in the next couple of weeks, overlooking the 18th fairway. Price is yet to be determined. Around one.
Is it a house?
It's a house. Yeah. It's a beautiful house, main level living. So if you've got folks who are looking for master on the main, big beautiful decks, gas applying, you've got gas hookups and everything. Really beautiful home, 2-car garage. I can't remember how many square feet, but I think it's around 3,000 square feet. Beautiful lower level for guests or kids, teenagers, whatever. But main level living if that's what you're looking for. I've got a home coming up, again, ground level living plus a lower level in View Royal, more of a starter home, going to be priced around the $800,000 mark. Could use some work, but great little home. I've got I can keep going, right?
Yeah.
I've got
I think actually we should do this every week. I just thought about it.
Yeah, I know, and people probably want to hear about these things. I've got a 1 bedroom plus loft. It would make a great sort of extra space, workout space, art room, but it's built by Abstract Developments. It's 2 blocks from the water on Moss Street. Heritage conversion home. Price is $600,000. It's around 900 square feet, including that loft. Top floor.
So, how many bedrooms?
It's 1 bedroom on the main. So you enter the house, the conversion home, go up a flight of stairs to the main level, which is like a 1 bedroom unit. There's a ladder attic access to a loft, open loft space with some skylights. It's very bright. So up there you can put a desk, an office space, whatever you like. So calling it 2 bedrooms, it's a flex space. You could call it 2 bedrooms.
I just saw something sort of similar on Mason. Was a small little house with a loft. It was really cute.
Yeah, and there was one on Richmond as well that I saw not too long ago. Okay. Yeah, I've got one coming in Brentwood Bay as well on an acre. It's not signed yet, so I want to be careful, but probably, again, around up above $1 million, closer to $1.5 million. We'll see. Here, more of a mid-century home, beautiful space, more of a West Coast landscaping, beautiful kind of Zen garden outside, lots of decks, very private.
Okay.
How about you?
I have got a condo coming up. It'll be coming up in the next week. It's 1-bedroom condo on Bear Mountain, top floor, 1395 Bear Mountain Parkway, facing the fairway, and it'll be $350. Priced well.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then I have a house coming up on Stormont. I did a little video on it yesterday. 2,600 square feet. That's 2 bedrooms on the main, 1 bath. And bring your decorating ideas to that house. That's in View Royal.
Yeah.
And how much was that? That's coming on at $850. It has a bunkhouse in the back. We call it the bunkie. It's very cute. And 221 Stormont Avenue.
Excellent.
And then I have my awesome listing, which is absolutely stunning home on 2650 Orchard. That's in South Oak Bay. And that has permitted additional accommodation in the basement.
How does that work? Permitted additional accommodation. So that's not available for rental, right?
It doesn't have a separate entry. And they share laundry.
So it's like a roommate situation, which Oak Bay does allow. Okay. Gotcha. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize. Oak Bay doesn't generally allow suite rentals, but you can have, quote, roommates as long as they're, and that is a rental situation. So, yeah.
It's a lovely home. And I'm looking for a house in Esquimalt or View Royal for a minimum 2 bedrooms, up to $850.
Esquimalt or View Royal, up to $850. Hey, well, maybe that one I was just talking about might be a good for your folks. What about Stormont for your folks? You can't double in.
Well, you can't double in, but also it's just not. It needs somebody with skills.
Okay,
so.
Skills. Okay. Do you want to talk? I mean, it's getting long, and I'm not sure if people are still around. But do you want to talk about buyer needs? Because we maybe have somebody who's sitting here watching us, thinking, I might be thinking about selling my house, but I'm not sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got some buyers for a wartime house, or some smaller home, 2 beds, 1 bath even is fine. Up to maybe 900,000, but 800,000 in that price point for like a smaller, just starter home. Nice shape. We've looked at stuff anywhere from 600,000, which does exist, but it's really nuts. Up to 900,000. And these folks don't mind doing a little bit of work and just being in a nice neighborhood. So got that. Got some folks who are got a guy looking for some really nice waterfront home, but maybe in Willis Point, where the speculation tax isn't applicable. So there's that. I've got, let's see here. Some folks looking for a home with a suite for the family. So it's got to be a nice suite, walkout, full height, beautiful home, up to 1.2 million anywhere in the core, for sure. I've got a few other buyers, actually quite a few active buyers, but I'll stop there. Those are some key ones there.
I've got somebody looking for a home in the West Shore, also with 2 kitchens. And they would like it's 2 groups moving in together, and they're friends, so they don't want separate accommodation. They want a stairway between the 2. Believe it or not, it's kind of hard to find right now.
So they don't want like a side-by-side duplex with no connection between. They would want or an up-down duplex. They want something where they can actually go visit each other. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're friends. I'm looking for, let's see. I found a lot of people places recently. So, rural property in Metchosin. There are only 4 right now. So we're looking there. Condo in downtown Vic West, sort of Victoria, walking distance to everything, up to 900. That's a longer term buyer. And then I have a very active buyer looking in Oak Bay right now, up to 1.5 million. Mm-hmm. And I have somebody looking for a house in Saanich East. They're looking for a traditional family home for them and their kids with a big backyard. And we were looking up at our Arbutus area, Gordon Head down to Fairfield. So, and then I have very active buyers looking in View Royal area for a house with a suite. And they want higher end. So up to 1.5.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so hopefully we're going to have in the future Russell Cass from Home Check coming in and talking to us about depreciation reports and condo purchases. He's my go-to guy when I have a buyer looking for a property and that's got shared spaces, because he analyzes where the money's going and what it's going to be spent on. He also evaluates the report itself for accuracy. So right. I really like working with him. So we'll let you know when that happens. I just have to kind of firm it up. It'll be in the next week or 2.
Sounds good. And okay. So we don't have a topic necessarily for next week, but we'll be here talking.
Yeah, we'll see you. We're here every Monday morning, so please subscribe if you're interested in learning more about real estate in Victoria. We are talking real, we have a real discussion on real estate in Victoria here. So thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Jane. Nice to see you again. Have a great week. See you in the trenches.
Okay, see you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.